I've broken down these details in such a way that they'll leave you shocked. And trust me, you'll only understand the full theory if you watch till the very end. What I've discovered about how the Avengers Doomsday will play out not only changes the way we see Marvel's future, but also flips the script on how the multiverse saga might close. And if I'm right, we're heading toward one of the darkest and most fascinating endings Marvel has ever attempted. Welcome back to MovieCast. I'm your host Liam Harrison, and today I'm going to take you through my full breakdown of how Avengers Doomsday could unfold, why Dr. Doom may end up seizing the throne of all reality, and what that means for the heroes we've grown up with. Stick with me, because every clue matters, and the biggest reveals are buried deep in the layers of the theory. When we think about the trajectory of the MCU after Endgame, it's tempting to believe the next big climax would naturally mirror Thanos. But here's where I think Marvel's storytellers are being far more ambitious. Thanos was a tyrant obsessed with balance, a villain who actually believed he was serving a purpose greater than himself. But Doom? He's a whole different beast. Victor Von Doom isn't just another conqueror. He's a character designed to blur the line between savior and monster. A man with enough intelligence to rival Reed Richards, enough mystical mastery to challenge Strange, and enough ambition to stare straight into the face of God and say, I can do it better. When you set someone like that against the crumbling order of the multiverse, incursions smashing realities into each other, chaos unraveling the timeline, it sets the perfect stage for Doom to rise, not as a temporary adversary, but as the inevitable ruler of what comes after everything falls apart. To lay the groundwork for my theory, let's start where the current MCU has left us. We've been seeing the cracks spread. Loki showed us that time itself is fragile, fractured into infinite branches that can collapse at any moment. Doctor Strange, in the Multiverse of Madness, introduced incursions as catastrophic collisions between universes, and the Council of Kangs in Quantumania revealed just how uncontainable the multiversal problem really is. All of this isn't random. Marvel has been constructing a slow burn toward a moment when all worlds, all timelines, all variations of reality will collide. And in the middle of this storm, a figure like Doom isn't just logical, he's inevitable. Because unlike King, who fragments into countless versions of himself, Doom thrives as a singular entity. He doesn't divide. He conquers. He consolidates. He unites power under one iron will. That's why when the Avengers eventually face their doomsday, it won't just be about stopping another warlord. It will be about resisting the total reordering of reality under Doom's hand. What makes Doom so terrifying as the central villain is not just his power, but his perspective. Imagine this. Incursions begin to escalate. Earth after Earth is wiped out. Heroes we've known and loved are erased before our eyes. The multiverse stops being a playground of infinite possibilities and turns into a ticking bomb. In that chaos, Doom could step forward as the one voice claiming he has the answer. And the thing is, he wouldn't be lying. Doom's history in the comics proves this. During Jonathan Hickman's legendary Secret Wars run, it was Doom, not Reed, not Tony, not Strange, who took on the Beyonders, seized their power, and constructed Battleworld, a patchwork reality where fragments of dying universes were stitched together. For a time, he literally held the title of God Emperor. That's not a fan nickname, that's canon. And it worked, at least in the sense that existence continued. The question wasn't whether Doom could save reality, but whether anyone should let him. That moral paradox is exactly what makes him the perfect in-game villain. He wins by doing the very thing no one else is willing to attempt. Now imagine Marvel building toward this on screen. At first, we'll likely see King variants presenting themselves as the greatest threat. Maybe the Avengers regroup, maybe the Fantastic Four step in, maybe even mutants start to reveal themselves. But here's the twist. I believe Doom will be the one who actually defeats Kang. Think about it. In storytelling terms, Kang is the misdirection. He's the Thanos stand-in, the figure we're led to believe is the final boss. But Doom is the card hidden up the writer's sleeve, waiting to turn the battle upside down. By having Doom dismantle Kang, or perhaps outthink him, outmaneuver him, and annihilate his council, Marvel not only subverts expectations, but also clears the board. Suddenly, all these heroes and villains we've been watching aren't fighting Kang anymore. They're fighting the man who crushed Kang and claimed the throne for himself. And that shift raises the stakes to a level the MCU hasn't dared to touch before. If you've noticed the careful setup, the breadcrumbs are already there. The same way Thanos slowly threaded his presence through Phase 1 and 2, Doom is about to seep into every corner of Phase 5 and 6, but unlike Thanos, Doom's rise doesn't need to wait until the final moments. His fingerprints could be everywhere. Whispered rumors of Latveria, shadows of his influence behind the scenes of other conflicts, maybe even alliances of convenience with desperate heroes trying to stabilize incursions. What matters is that when Doomsday arrives, it will feel like Doom has been quietly pulling strings, calculating every move, and waiting for the precise moment when the multiverse is weakest. And when that moment hits, Doom won't just step into the spotlight. He'll already be standing there, ready to claim everything. This brings me to the heart of the setup, the inevitability of Battleworld. For those unfamiliar, Battleworld isn't just another planet. It's a construct, a patchwork of realities forced together into one Frankenstein existence. Picture it. Pieces of New York stitched to fragments of Asgard. A shard of Wakanda hovering next to remnants of Deadpool's Earth. And maybe even landscapes from universes we haven't seen yet, like X-Men worlds or timelines destroyed in What If. The beauty of this concept is that it allows Marvel to bring everything together. The Fox X-Men, the Raimi Spider-Man universes, the animated branches, maybe even glimpses of universes we thought were lost. And standing over it all, Doom. Not Kang, not the Avengers, not Strange. Doom, as God Emperor, enforcing a new order because no one else could. This is the grand design, and the seeds are already planted. The incursions aren't random. They're the collapse necessary to justify Doom's rise. Here's the twist I want you to hold on to. Doom winning isn't the bad ending. It's the necessary ending. Think about it. If the multiverse is collapsing, no Avenger has the combined intellect and ruthlessness to stop it. Reed Richards might try, but he doubts himself. Strange might attempt, but he hesitates at the moral cost. Tony could have, but he's gone. Doom? Doom doesn't hesitate. Doom acts. And when reality teeters on the edge of nothingness, the man willing to seize godhood may be the only one left standing. That's what makes this Doomsday not just another Marvel showdown, but a story about the very philosophy of power. What would you rather have, chaos that destroys everything, or a tyrant who saves it by chaining it under his will? That's the paradox Marvel is leading us into. And if they're bold enough, Avengers Doomsday will end with the heroes not stopping Doom, but being forced to live in the world he creates. That's the foundation of the theory. Doom doesn't just rise because he wants to. He rises because the multiverse demands it. Kang is the distraction. Incursions are the storm. The Avengers are the resistance. And Doom? Doom is the inevitable conclusion. But this is just the beginning of the breakdown. Because the deeper we go, the more this theory connects, not just to the comics, but to the hidden architecture of the MCU itself. And trust me, the more we peel back, the clearer it becomes that Doomsday won't end in victory for the Avengers. At least not in the way we expect. When you trace the arc of Marvel's storytelling, there's always a moment where the illusion of security shatters. In Infinity War, it was Thanos snapping his fingers, ripping away half the universe, and showing us that our heroes could fail. In Civil War, it was watching Earth's mightiest split down the middle, realizing that the Avengers weren't an unbreakable family, but a fragile alliance. In Avengers Doomsday, that breaking point won't come from Kang's armies or multiversal chaos alone. It'll come from the realization that even if you defeat Kang, the incursions keep happening. Even if you kill one council, another reality dies tomorrow. And when that hopelessness spreads, Doom steps in not as the villain hiding in the shadows, but as the man holding the solution in his iron grip. The transition is everything, because the moment Kang falls, the real war begins. I picture it like this. The Avengers gather their forces, calling in everyone left standing. Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Sam Wilson as Captain America, maybe even Hulk and Thor trying to rebuild what's left of their broken teams. They think Kang is the true threat. They've seen his dynasty. They've heard his variants whisper about conquest, and they believe if they cut off the head of this Hydra, the multiverse will stabilize. But that's not how incursions work. It's not a singular enemy. It's a systemic collapse. Which is why Doom's arrival isn't just about power, it's about knowledge. Doom is the one who has studied the incursions, who understands them on a level even Strange can't, and who secretly prepared for the collapse long before the Avengers realized how deep it goes. So when Kang finally loses, whether in a massive showdown or in a brilliant reversal where Doom outplays him, the Avengers are left not with victory, but with Doom standing over the ashes, offering his hand and saying, "You can fight me, or you can join me. But either way, this world belongs to Doom." And here's the chilling part. Not every hero would instantly refuse. Think about the psychology of it. Imagine Strange watching universe after universe crumble. He's been haunted since No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness by the consequences of tampering with reality. He sees Doom holding the power to actually stitch fragments together, to make something stable out of chaos. How tempting would it be for him to align, at least for a time, with Doom's plan? Or take someone like Wanda, if she ever returns, a woman who wanted nothing more than a safe world for her children. Doom could offer her a fragment of reality where Billy and Tommy still exist. These aren't simple battles of fists and lightning bolts. These are battles of ideology, of temptation, of whether heroes can resist when the villain is the only one actually holding the answers. That complexity is what makes Doomsday a story Marvel has to tell carefully. Because Doom doesn't just win with force. He wins with conviction. Of course, not everyone would bend. This is where the true gathering of forces comes in. The Fantastic Four would never allow Doom to reign unopposed. Reed Richards in particular has always seen Doom as both his rival and his responsibility. A man whose genius could have saved the world 1,000 times over if it weren't warped by ego and envy. Bringing the Fantastic Four into Avengers Doomsday isn't just fan service. It's essential, because they are the only team with a personal stake in Doom's downfall. Every battle Reed has fought has been a reflection of what Doom might have become if he had chosen differently. That rivalry, transplanted into the MCU, becomes the emotional core of the Resistance. The Avengers may fight Doom as a tyrant, but Reed fights him as the man he knows he could have been. That duality adds layers no other villain can provide, because it forces Reed, and by extension the audience, to ask, what if Doom is right this time? But here's where the MCU scale makes this even bigger than the comics. Doom's war wouldn't just pull in Avengers and the Fantastic Four. The very incursions tearing the multiverse apart would force new players onto the board. Mutants, long hidden in their own realities, could begin bleeding into the main universe. Imagine Charles Xavier realizing that his Earth is collapsing, with nowhere to send his students but into this crumbling battleground. Imagine Magneto, ever pragmatic, siding with Doom because survival means more than ideals. Suddenly the X-Men aren't just introduced. They're thrust into the ultimate fight for existence itself. And then there's Loki, the god of mischief who more than anyone else has walked the corridors of the multiverse, seen he who remains, and understood the stakes of the sacred timeline. If there's anyone who could recognize Doom's plan for what it is, it would be Loki, which sets up one of the most fascinating dynamics imaginable. Loki, once the MCU's first great villain, standing as one of the final resistors to Doom's godhood. Now let's zoom in on the psychology of Doom himself, because this is where the theory tightens. Doom doesn't see himself as a conqueror here. He sees himself as the only man willing to do what the so-called heroes can't. In his mind, Reed is too bound by morality, Strange too cautious, and the Avengers too fractured to ever take decisive control. Doom, on the other hand, believes that the multiverse is already doomed, no pun intended, unless someone steps in to impose order. That's why in the comics he became God Emperor, not out of sadism, but out of necessity. And here's the kicker. Doom actually has the charisma to sell that argument. He's not frothing with madness. He's calm. He's articulate. He can look the Avengers in the eye and say, would you rather watch trillions die or live under my rule where at least existence continues? That's what makes him so chilling, because you can almost believe him. And yet, the resistance grows. The Avengers, battered but unyielding, rally not because they think they can win, but because they can't accept a reality forged in tyranny. This is where Marvel has a chance to stage its most spectacular team-up yet. Not just the Avengers and Fantastic Four, not just mutants and Loki, but potentially even remnants of other universes, Spider-Man variants, Deadpool breaking into the MCU, maybe even strange alliances with characters we thought long gone. Imagine Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man pulled from a collapsing world, standing shoulder to shoulder with Reed Richards against Doom. Imagine Wolverine snarling at Captain Marvel as they fight on the same side. This isn't just a team-up. It's a collision of legacies. A war where every hero from every corner of Marvel's storytelling takes one last stand against the man who would be God. But here's the cruel genius of it. The more they fight, the closer they come to creating the very thing Doom needs. Every incursion, every shattering universe, every desperate attempt to stop him only accelerates the collapse. Until finally, the multiverse reaches its breaking point and Doom unveils his creation, Battle World. The heroes don't stop the end. They survive it, only to wake up in a stitched-together nightmare where Doom already reigns supreme. Picture that reveal. A desolate sky filled with fragments of broken Earths, stitched together into a single world. Castles flying alongside skyscrapers. Alien landscapes merging with Manhattan streets. The Avengers regrouping, not in victory, but in stunned silence, realizing that their battle didn't prevent the apocalypse. It delivered them straight into Doom's hands. And from here on out, the war isn't about stopping the collapse. It's about surviving in the world Doom has already claimed. And this is where the tension really begins to coil. Because the Avengers can't just charge in fists swinging. Battleworld isn't a battlefield. It's a prison. Every fragment of reality sewn together by Doom comes with its own rules, its own armies, its own loyalties. Some heroes might even turn against the Avengers, swayed by Doom's promise of stability. Mutants given land to govern. Asgardians restored in fragments of their home. Even villains given power if they kneel. Doom's brilliance lies in this. He doesn't just conquer. He bargains. He bribes. He offers just enough of what each faction wants to keep them in line, which makes the Avengers' resistance not only desperate but fragmented. Who do you trust when half your allies might already be serving Doom's throne? That paranoia, that uncertainty, is what will drive the heart of Doomsday's middle acts, not just the spectacle of war, but the slow corrosion of hope. But even in that darkness, a spark remains. The Avengers, Fantastic Four, mutants, Loki, maybe even Spider-Man, they don't fight because they know they'll win. They fight because they refuse to accept Doom's truth. They fight because resistance, even against a god, is the only thing that makes them heroes. And that's what sets the stage for the ultimate clash. Doom standing not just as the final villain, but as the final temptation. Will the heroes break under the weight of his order, or will they find some way, however small, to challenge the throne of a god? The moment Battleworld is revealed, everything changes. Up until this point, the Avengers and their allies believed they were fighting to prevent the end of the multiverse. But the cruel reality hits them like a tidal wave. They didn't stop it. They only delayed it long enough for Doom to reshape it into his vision. Imagine that first shot. A world stitched together like a Frankenstein creation. Jagged seams in the sky where realities collide. Rivers flowing upward into broken fragments of mountains suspended in the air, and monuments of Doom's presence etched across the horizon. The heroes look out at this nightmare landscape, and for the first time, they understand they are no longer the protectors of Earth. They're prisoners in a world forged by Doom's will. And here's the chilling part. It's not chaos. It's order. It works. That's the knife twist Marvel needs to drive in. Doom didn't just win. He built something that functions better than the chaos they were trying to stop. Battleworld isn't just a battlefield, it's a hierarchy. Every shard of reality is a domain, and every domain has a ruler. That's how Doom maintains control. Think about the cinematic possibilities. A fragment of New York, ruled by a corrupted Spider-Man variant who swore loyalty to Doom. A wasteland domain governed by remnants of Ultron drones still patrolling in Doom's name. A reconstructed Asgard gifted to Loki as a cruel mockery of his lifelong dream, forcing him to wrestle with his pride versus his loyalty to his friends. Each territory becomes a story in itself, and moving across them isn't just a physical challenge, it's a moral labyrinth. Because everywhere they go, the Avengers are faced with people who've chosen survival under Doom rather than extinction without him. And that forces our heroes to confront the hardest truth. Maybe they're the outliers. Maybe they're the ones still clinging to ideals that don't work in this new world. And this is where betrayal seeps in. Because Doom is smart enough to know that sheer force can't hold every domain in check. He doesn't need to kill every hero. He just needs to bend them. He offers temptation like a scalpel. To mutants, he promises territory where they'll never be hunted again. To the Fantastic Four, perhaps even the resurrection of a lost loved one, Doom has always been twisted enough to dangle Sue Richards or even Franklin in ways Reed can't ignore. To the Avengers, he offers stability, a world where people aren't constantly dying because they failed. Imagine Sam Wilson carrying the shield, but also the burden of leadership, asked directly by Doom, do you want to lead a broken rebellion? Or do you want to lead a nation in my new order? These offers aren't empty. They're real, and some heroes might take them. That's the brilliance of Doom's world. It isn't built on blind loyalty. It's built on calculated compromise. The more you imagine this playing out, the more it becomes clear that Doomsday isn't just about spectacle. It's about philosophy. Heroes like Strange and Reed argue endlessly over the ethics of Doom's rule. Strange sees the logic. A stable multiverse under one ruler is better than annihilation. Reed, however, knows Doom too well. He knows that power isn't safety when it sits in Doom's hands. And this rift among the smartest men in the Marvel Universe could ripple outwards, infecting the team itself. Thor, exhausted from watching realms collapse, might start wondering if Doom's order is worth enduring. Wolverine, cynical as ever, might mutter that at least Doom doesn't hide what he is, unlike half the heroes who claim moral superiority. These aren't cartoonish conflicts. They're deep fractures in the ideology of what it means to be a hero when the world itself has already ended. But Doom doesn't stop at manipulation. He enforces loyalty with spectacle. Picture a scene where Doom punishes a rebellious domain not by wiping it out instantly, but by forcing the Avengers to watch as he collapses it into nothingness, fragment by fragment. He makes it clear: defy him, and you don't just die, your entire reality ceases to exist. It's not just physical power, it's psychological domination. The message spreads across Battleworld like wildfire. Doom is not merely the ruler. Doom is survival itself, and that's the hardest enemy the Avengers have ever faced. Not someone they can punch, not someone they can outwit, but someone who holds the entire structure of reality in his hand. Yet within this nightmare, sparks of resistance ignite. The Avengers don't accept their prison. They move through domains like ghosts, searching for allies, trying to rally forces who haven't completely surrendered. And here's where the MCU could deliver the most fan-pleasing moments of all. In one domain, maybe they encounter an alternate Black Panther, one who has seen his world fall but still carries the mantle. In another, they find Deadpool breaking the fourth wall as he marvels at being officially part of the MCU while dodging Doom's enforcers. Each encounter expands the patchwork of resistance, reminding viewers that even in a world where Doom reigns, not every spark has gone out. But these sparks come at a cost. Every domain they visit tightens Doom's grip. Every ally they gain puts a bigger target on their back, and Doom is always watching, always waiting to remind them that resistance is futile. And here's the genius twist Marvel could pull. Not every betrayal is immediate. Some heroes may pretend to side with Doom just to survive, only to reveal later they were working against him all along. Imagine Loki bowing to Doom, ruling his gifted Asgard fragment with pomp and arrogance, only for us to slowly realize he's plotting a coup from within. Or picture Wanda appearing as Doom's ally, content in a shard of reality where her children exist, until the moment she realizes those children are nothing but Doom's illusions, and she turns her wrath against him. These layers of deception and revelation would keep the audience guessing, never quite sure who stands with Doom and who stands against him until the final moment of truth. Of course, at the center of it all lies Reed Richards. In the comics, Reed versus Doom is the beating heart of Secret Wars, and I think the MCU will follow that thread closely. Reed understands that the war isn't about who's stronger, it's about who defines reality. Doom defines it through fear and absolute control. Reed believes in choice, in free will, even if it means chaos. Their clash isn't just scientific, it's spiritual. And that's why I think the Fantastic Four will play a far larger role in Avengers Doomsday than casual fans expect. This isn't just an Avengers movie, it's a convergence. And Reed, with his relentless belief that Doom cannot be allowed to rule, becomes the moral compass even when everyone else wavers. But Doom isn't careless. He knows Reed is his greatest rival. So imagine this. Doom isolates Reed, confronting him personally, not as an enemy to crush, but as a friend to persuade. He offers Reed the one thing he's always wanted, the safety of his family. Maybe even a version of Sue Richards who loves Doom instead of him. It's cruel, it's manipulative, but it's also brilliant. Because Doom knows Reed's weakness isn't arrogance, it's love. And in tempting him with the very thing Reed holds dearest, Doom proves that his dominion isn't about brute strength. It's about psychological warfare. This act, the Battleworld middle stretch, is where despair settles deepest. The Avengers are fragmented, trust is eroding, and Doom seems untouchable. He's not merely sitting on a throne. He's actively shaping reality, rewriting its rules, bending the very physics of existence to prove that he alone holds the keys. Every rebellion they spark only leads to harsher punishment, and every spark of hope seems to flicker out. But it's precisely here, in the heart of the darkness, that the seeds of Doom's downfall will be planted. Because if there's one constant in Marvel storytelling, it's that tyrants always miss one truth. The more they tighten their grip, the more stars slip through their fingers. Doom may be God Emperor, but he's still a man. And men, no matter how powerful, always leave cracks in their armor. And that's where the Avengers, fractured, broken, but still defiant, begin to search. Not for a way to punch Doom into submission, but for the one flaw in his world. The one thread they can pull to unravel his empire. That's what sets up the next act. The desperate hunt for Doom's weakness, the rising hope that maybe, just maybe, this isn't the end after all. Every great story reaches a turning point where despair begins to bend into defiance. For the Avengers in Doomsday, that shift doesn't come from a sudden surge of strength or a last-minute Deus Ex Machina. It comes from something smaller, quieter, but far more dangerous to Doom: doubt. Within his perfectly constructed battle world, whispers start to circulate. Whispers that Doom isn't infallible, that for all his control, there's a flaw buried somewhere in the patchwork of realities he rules. And it's those whispers that spark the Avengers' next move. Not a head-on assault, but a search for the cracks in the armor of a god. The hunt begins in fragments. Strange pores over the fabric of Battle World, studying the seams where universes collide. He notices irregularities, moments where the laws of reality twitch, where things don't quite line up. Reed, on the other hand, approaches it scientifically. He theorizes that Doom can't be everywhere at once, that even his godhood is sustained by some anchor of power. Loki, of course, has his own perspective, reminding them that even gods can bleed, and every throne is just a seat waiting to be pulled out from under its ruler. Together, these minds start to piece together the possibility that Doom's godhood isn't limitless. It's borrowed. It's tethered to something. And if they can find that tether, they can unravel everything he's built. But Doom isn't ignorant. He's always 2 steps ahead. As the Avengers begin to probe, Doom tightens his grip on the domains, demanding loyalty through harsher decrees. He stages public displays of his power, annihilating small rebellions to remind everyone who holds reality's leash. And yet the more aggressively he enforces control, the more seeds of rebellion sprout. Heroes who once bent to his will begin to reconsider. Imagine Magneto, who initially sided with Doom for the promise of mutant safety, starting to question whether survival without freedom is truly survival at all. Imagine Wanda, shattered by the revelation that her children are just constructs woven from Doom's imagination, turning her rage against him. These betrayals don't happen all at once, but in ripples. Doom's arrogance convinces him he can manage them. What he doesn't realize is that ripples can become waves. The Avengers, meanwhile, find themselves caught in a desperate balancing act. They need to keep hope alive among their allies while also hiding their search for Doom's weakness. Every domain they enter could be a trap. Every ally a potential betrayer. The paranoia that started in Battleworld's creation now grows sharper, more dangerous. Who can you trust when Doom can rewrite reality itself to deceive you? This is where tension soars, because Marvel could play with the audience's expectations as much as the heroes. Imagine entire sequences where we realize, along with the Avengers, that what we thought was real is just a reality illusion crafted by Doom. Battles that turn out to be staged. Allies who vanish like smoke. The rug constantly pulled from under our feet, reminding us that the Avengers are fighting not just a man, but a god who controls the rules of the game. And yet amid that chaos, they find their first real clue. Maybe it's Strange who sees it, a moment when Doom falters, even for a split second. Or perhaps it's Reed, who realizes that the fabric of Battleworld isn't held together by Doom's will alone, but by a source of power he's siphoning. In the comics, Doom harnessed the Beyonder's energy to construct his empire. In the MCU, it could be something similar. An artifact, a primal force of creation, maybe even remnants of Kang's temporal technology. Whatever it is, it becomes the Avengers' focus. Doom isn't untouchable. He's anchored. And if they can sever that anchor, his godhood crumbles. This realization is like oxygen to a suffocating fire. The Resistance, once fragmented and paranoid, suddenly has a mission. But missions bring risk, and Doom is no fool. He knows the Avengers are plotting, so he strikes first. Imagine Doom luring them into a false alliance, only to trap them in a domain built specifically to break them. A fragment of reality where their worst failures replay endlessly, forcing them to confront not just his might, but their own doubts. Cap reliving the fracture of the Avengers in Civil War. Strange seeing Christine die again and again. Thor standing helpless as Asgard burns. It's not just torture. It's psychological warfare at the deepest level. Doom isn't trying to kill them here. He's trying to make them surrender willingly, to accept that resistance is pointless because they can't even survive their own regrets. And here's the brilliance. Not all of them resist. Some heroes crack. Some admit, in the face of endless torment, that Doom's way might be better. This isn't just spectacle, it's character drama. Imagine Wanda breaking down, admitting she doesn't care if her children are illusions as long as she can hold them again. Imagine a hero like Strange, warned from carrying too many burdens, whispering that maybe Doom is right. These moments don't weaken the story, they strengthen it, because they force the Avengers to confront not just Doom, but themselves. And in those cracks of despair, the heroes who endure, the ones who refuse to bow, even broken, become the true heart of the resistance. The turning point comes in betrayal. Not Doom betraying them, but one of their own betraying him. Picture Loki, the eternal trickster, finally tipping the scales. For much of Battleworld, Doom has believed Loki plays along, ruling his gifted Asgard fragment with theatrical pride. But when the moment comes, Loki switches sides, not out of nobility, but because Doom underestimated his hunger for mischief. Loki reveals what Doom has been hiding, the source of his godhood. He doesn't just tell them, he shows them. A hidden chamber, a tether to a primal power, the truth Doom never wanted exposed. And in that reveal, the Avengers realize their war isn't hopeless. Doom can be beaten. But Doom doesn't take betrayal lightly. His response is catastrophic. He unleashes his full might, reshaping domains to wage war against the Avengers. Battleworld itself becomes a weapon, with mountains crashing into cities, oceans flooding domains, and armies of loyalists unleashed. This isn't a simple fight anymore. It's all-out war. The Resistance versus God Emperor Doom. And Marvel could stage this as the most ambitious battle sequence in its entire cinematic history. Heroes from every corner, Avengers, Fantastic Four, mutants, variants, even Deadpool cracking jokes mid-battle, all fighting across the stitched terrain of Battleworld. Doom at the center, not as a puppet master anymore, but as a wrathful god unleashing everything he has to crush the rebellion once and for all. The cost is devastating. Heroes fall. Some domains are obliterated entirely. The audience should feel the weight of sacrifice. This isn't the clean victory of Endgame. It's war. Brutal, costly, and uncertain. Maybe Wolverine throws himself into a hopeless fight to protect the younger X-Men. Maybe Thor sacrifices himself to shatter one of Doom's constructs. Maybe Strange burns out his magic holding a domain together long enough for others to escape. These aren't throwaway moments. They're the kind of losses that remind us this isn't just another superhero crossover. This is the collapse of everything. And yet in that chaos, the Avengers press forward. They know where they have to strike. They've found the source of Doom's godhood, the anchor that sustains Battleworld. The Resistance rallies. Not because they believe they'll all survive, but because they know this is the only chance they have to end his reign. The stage is set for the final act, the climactic confrontation with Doom himself, the unraveling of Battleworld, and the question that will define the end of Doomsday: can the Avengers truly defeat a god, or will they have to live with a world forged in his image? Every war has a breaking point, and on Battleworld, that moment comes when the Avengers finally reach the heart of Doom's empire. After endless battles across fractured domains, after betrayals and sacrifices that cut them to the bone, they now stand at the threshold of Doom's true power, the anchor that sustains his godhood. It's not just a fortress. It's the engine of reality itself, a place where stolen energies flow, knitting Battleworld together like veins through a body. The Avengers know this is their one chance. If they can sever the tether, Doom will no longer be a god. He'll just be a man. But Doom knows it too. He's been waiting for them, prepared for their rebellion. And what follows isn't just the climax of a battle. It's the reckoning between gods and mortals. The showdown begins with spectacle. Imagine Doom descending upon the battlefield, not in armor alone, but cloaked in cosmic energy, his mask glowing with power that bends the sky itself. He doesn't simply fight, he rewrites. Blasts of energy that don't just wound but erase, rewriting matter out of existence. Heroes swing and strike only to see their weapons dissolve mid-air. This isn't combat on equal footing. It's mortals throwing themselves at a god who controls the rules of the fight. And yet they charge anyway. Thor, battered but unyielding, hurls himself into the storm. Wolverine claws out, carves his way through Doom's constructs. Spider-Man swings across collapsing debris, refusing to give up even when every punch feels like throwing pebbles at a mountain. Each hero fights not because they believe they can win, but because they know they must try. At the center of it all is Reed Richards. Doom taunts him endlessly, reminding him of their shared history, their rivalry, their mirrored brilliance. "You could have stood beside me," Doom sneers. "You could have ruled with me." But Reed refuses, because he knows that ruling isn't the same as saving. Their battle isn't just fists and blasts. It's a duel of ideologies, a clash of wills that reverberates through every hero still standing. Reed represents the belief in flawed humanity, in freedom, no matter the cost. Doom embodies order through tyranny, salvation through absolute control. And in their conflict, the fate of Battleworld itself trembles. But the Avengers have one edge. They know Doom's weakness now. Strange channels every ounce of his magic to attack the tether directly, while Wanda unleashes her chaos energy to destabilize Doom's constructs. Loki, ever the trickster, uses deception to draw Doom's attention away, buying precious seconds. Every hero plays their part, and for the first time, Doom falters. His godhood flickers. Cracks appear in his cosmic armor. The Avengers seize the moment, driving forward with everything they have left. For a heartbeat, victory feels possible. And then Doom reminds them why he's the greatest villain Marvel has ever created. In his fury, he lashes out, not with precision, but with devastation. The battlefield becomes a massacre. Entire domains crumble as Doom unleashes power unchecked, obliterating allies in a storm of destruction. Heroes fall. Maybe Magneto, realizing too late that siding with Doom was a mistake, sacrifices himself to shield younger mutants. Maybe Captain Marvel takes the full force of Doom's blast, disappearing in a blinding flash that leaves the sky scarred. These aren't side casualties. They're gut punches, losses that shake the resistance to its core. The message is clear. If Doom is going down, he's taking everyone with him. Still, the Avengers push forward. They reach the tether, that singular source of Doom's power. And here comes the cruelest moment of all. To sever it, someone has to stay behind. Someone has to sacrifice themselves to hold the line long enough for the others to finish the job. This is Marvel's chance to deliver its most devastating farewell since Tony's snap in Endgame. Maybe it's Thor, roaring with defiance as he channels every last ounce of thunder to hold Doom back. Maybe it's Strange, accepting that his story has always been about protecting reality, even at the cost of his own. Whoever it is, their sacrifice buys the Avengers the seconds they need. Reed and Wanda strike together, shattering the tether. Doom's godhood collapses in a blinding explosion of light. For a moment, silence. The battlefield hangs suspended, the Avengers standing amid ruin, breathing ragged, barely alive. Doom staggers, no longer a god but still a man of terrifying will. He rages, clawing at the fragments of power slipping through his fingers. And here's where Marvel could twist the knife. Even stripped of godhood, Doom refuses to lose. He declares that if he cannot rule Battleworld, no one will. With his last reserves of power, he triggers the collapse of the world itself. The seams begin to unravel. Domains crash into each other. The sky fractures into infinite shards. Battleworld is dying, and with it, all of existence. The Avengers scramble, trying to hold reality together with sheer force of will. Strange conjures barriers that shatter as quickly as he forms them. Reed frantically calculates, searching for a way to stabilize the collapse. Spider-Man saves who he can, even as the ground falls away beneath him. It's chaos, devastation, the end of everything. And in the middle of it all, Doom smiles. Because even in defeat, he's won. He's proven his point. Without him, the multiverse falls apart. The Avengers may have stripped him of godhood, but they can't stop the collapse he set in motion. And this is where the cliffhanger lands. Just as Battleworld disintegrates, just as the heroes brace for annihilation, something impossible happens. A blinding surge of energy, a voice echoing through the void. The Beyonders, a new cosmic force, or perhaps remnants of Kang's technology still clinging to survival. Whatever it is, it doesn't restore order. It doesn't save the heroes. It pulls them into something else. A void, a new battleground, a place beyond the remnants of Battleworld. The screen fades, not on triumph, but on uncertainty. The Avengers are alive but fractured, scattered across the unknown. And Doom? He isn't gone. He drifts in the void, still alive, still burning with vengeance, whispering a promise. This is not the end. Doom endures. That's the cliffhanger. Not the neat bow of Endgame, but the raw, unresolved chaos that sets the stage for Secret Wars. A universe without stability. Heroes broken and grieving. Doom stripped of his godhood, but not his will. And the multiverse hanging by a thread. Marvel wouldn't give us closure here, because the story isn't over. Doomsday isn't the conclusion. It's the spark that ignites the final war. The war that will decide the fate of every reality in Secret Wars. And that, I think, is how Avengers Doomsday will end. Not with victory. Not with peace. But with sacrifice, devastation, and the terrifying knowledge that Doom was right all along. Without him, the multiverse cannot hold. It's the perfect lead-in because it leaves us hungry, desperate to see how the Avengers, fractured, beaten, and scarred, can possibly rise again when the very concept of reality is falling apart. It's bold, it's risky, and it's exactly the kind of storytelling Marvel needs to close the multiverse saga on a high note. So that's my full breakdown. If you stuck with me all the way to the end, you now see why I believe Doom will rise as God Emperor, why Battleworld will be the centerpiece of Doomsday, and why the movie will end on a cliffhanger that drags us straight into Secret Wars. The MCU has been building toward this moment for years, and if they deliver it with the weight and scale it deserves, it could surpass even Endgame in sheer ambition. If you enjoyed this theory and breakdown, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to MovieCast. It really helps the channel grow and keeps these deep dive breakdowns coming. And if you want to show extra support, consider hitting that super thanks button. Even a $20 contribution goes a long way in keeping the lights on here. I'm Liam Harrison, and this has been my full theory on how Avengers Doomsday will end. Trust me, if Marvel pulls this off, it's gonna blow all of our minds.